All right. This is I don't know. This is a tough video. It's just amazing that these people exist. But the number one trending hashtag on Twitter right now is cancel Netflix. And oh, I wonder why. What could Netflix possibly be up to? Well, according to IMDb, they have this thing called Parents Guide, and the movie in question is Cuties. Cuties, a few weeks ago, Netflix released a advertisement that was extremely controversial. I don't know why. I think all across the board, it shouldn't even be controversial. It should just be completely rejected. It basically sexualized minors in skimpy dance uniforms, doing provocative posing, and of course, as I think any sane culture would do, was completely against it. Netflix apologized and then proceeded to release the movie. Well, the movie is now out, and it's I don't know how they could release such a thing. I don't know how it's legal. On what grounds is it okay? I don't know who the parents are that allowed their kids to participate in this film as actors. And it's disgusting, really. If you look at the Parents Guide, it even says it has a sex and nudity severe warning. And if you read some of this stuff, let me just break it down for you. This is what's in the movie. The movie consists of 11-year-old girls dancing very suggestively. That in itself is disgusting. An adult dancer shows her breast at the end of a dance video that two children characters are watching on a phone. So kids are now exposed to nudity. A girl watches, and it's not just like National Geographic, stuff or whatever. This is like, it was provocative dancing, like dancers showing nudity. It's a girl watches a female rap music video where naked women role play through dance. A pair of tight leather pants on an 11-year-old girl are forcefully pulled down in the midst of I don't even want to read this. It's disgusting. It's disgusting how this can exist. And you read stuff like this article, the controversy behind Netflix Cuties explained. There's no explanation needed. It was a film that should not have been made. I've heard some argue that, it's not really sexualizing children. It's supposed to it portrays it, but it's trying to do it in a way where it's criticizing it, where it's saying like little girls are being exposed to sexualization at a young age, and they're feeling that they need to do these things to fit in because that's what the mainstream media is pushing on adult females, and they want to grow up and mature faster. Okay, that's a conversation that people should have in society. I mean, you look at TikTok and it's just rampant with minors doing extremely inappropriate things for their age group. And that seems to fly under the radar. And then a movie like this is created to apparently combat that, but by combating it, they show it. There should be a conversation of how this is not okay and how this should not exist, and that kids should be kids and they should not be focused on or exposed to these adult things. But unfortunately, you have the internet and you have things out there where kids with phones nowadays they have the entire internet in their hands. And they can access whatever they want, and they're going to be exposed to terrible things. As a kid, they think they're maturing and growing up, but at the end of the day, they're a kid. They're a child that's being exposed to these things, and it corrupts them. And so now they made a movie to show us all a bunch of things, which I think is an excuse for sickos to get off. Anyways, so in this article, this is the post. I don't want to look at it. Netflix issued an apology back in August. We're deeply sorry for the inappropriate artwork that we used for Cuties. It was not okay, nor was it representative of this French film, which won an award at Sundance. We've now updated the pictures and description. Well, too little, too late. And I'm just wondering, how do you look at this film and release it? I don't care what the messaging is. The imagery is inappropriate and disgusting. It's like, I'm trying to combat violence by showing, tons of it. And doing it in a way where it's like, I don't know. That comparison isn't even justified just because of how disgusting and immoral this whole child exploitation thing is compared to even, I don't know. It's just, I'm at a loss here. Anyways, so then you go down here and basically someone says, I can confirm Cuties does have scenes of 11-year-old girls twerking and wearing revealing clothing while doing so. Okay, that should just end there. Don't make the film. But it continues. However, Cuties is not promoting or glamorizing the sexualization of young girls. Yeah, it's not promoting it. It's just showing it. And they write, presentation is not the same as promotion, but you're still showing it. Instead, the film critiques these choices by exploring why girls might engage in such behavior and how they feel about it. This should be something that society is talking about without needing a movie showing you. There's enough of this already just on social media of little kids doing just acting in a way that is completely not okay. Someone else writes, the sight of twerking preteen bodies is explicitly designed to shock mature audiences into a contemplation of today's destruction of innocence by creating outrageous musical montages involving close-up crotch shots of pouting preteens, but that seems to want to provoke censor, but fails precisely because she's trying so hard. I don't know. You just, the idea that you can show close-up of kids doing these things and try and write it off as, oh, well, it's an artistic presentation of a serious dialogue that needs to be had in society. This should not exist. Yes, the conversation needs to be had because too many young people are being exposed to things with the internet and their technology, allowing them access to these types of things, and it's corrupting their minds and turning them into these over-sexualized, violent human beings. And they think they think they're maturing, but at the end of the day, it's like, you're still a kid. You've developed in life to a point where you're a kid. You have a kid's mentality. You have a kid's level of reasoning and processing, but now you're being shown things that you should not see and being exposed to things you should not be exposed to. And now that's getting mixed into your child sense of being. And apparently this person thought making a movie showing it was totally appropriate. Then you get people like this from the New Yorker writing, Cuties, the extraordinary Netflix debut that became the target of a right-wing campaign. Okay, then I'll just proudly take on that title of being a right-winger if it means I'm against child exploitation and the depiction of such in a movie. I mean, I see people arguing on Twitter too, saying, hey, I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal, and I'm totally against this too. Why are you making this like a political thing? Why are you saying like, oh, it's only the right that's against the exploitation of children? Well, I mean, if you look at the left, it's probably because I said this for a long time. With all of the different things that are being proposed by the left that they're trying to push into society about accepting literally everything and not questioning science or any sense of like cultural normality, they're basically saying, okay, listen, you guys are racist bigots, you're homophobes, you're against all this stuff, and we're going to push it on you that there's a million genders, don't look at science, people need to feel good, there's no such thing as medical conditions, it's basically everyone is who they say they are because of how they feel, and you need to accept it. And I knew that it was going to get down to this road, and you saw it in California, like, wasn't it a week ago where they passed that legislation where, you know, underage boys can now hook up with adult males and the punishment is less severe when really it should be anyone involved in those acts should have a more severe punishment. But they tried for equality. They said, oh, well, if a heterosexual pedophile gets in trouble, they don't have to register for sex offender stuff. But then if a gay couple does it, then they have to. So let's try and combat that by saying that, the gay couple doesn't have to register either. No, I think they both should have to go through even more punishment than they already go through. But then you see stuff like this where it's like, okay, let's test the waters. Let's put a film like this out there and we'll mask it with this whole like, oh, it's supposed to be a message, to start a dialogue in society and the culture and how kids are being corrupt. But really what we're doing is we're showing you this disgusting imagery of exploiting kids. So we're trying to talk about exploiting kids while exploiting kids in our movie. This guy writes, on Wednesday, Netflix releases Cuties, the remarkable first feature from the French filmmaker Maimouna. I don't know how to say their name. Unfortunately, the platform's misleading advertising has given rise to a scurrilous campaign. Is it the misleading advertisement or is it the film itself? And the advertisement is a result of the content of the film. I mean, come on, just use your brain for a second. The promotional image showing young girls in bikini-like clothing dancing in provocative ways, matched with an inaccurate description, has been taken to suggest that the film celebrates children's sexualized behavior. It does. It's masked with the whole, oh, this isn't okay, but then it just shows it nonstop. How do you show it and then say you're against it? In fact, the subject of the film is exactly the opposite. It dramatizes the difficulties of growing up female in a sexualized and commercialized media culture. I doubt that the scandal mongers, who include some well-known figures of the far right, have actually seen Cuties. But some elements of the film that weren't presented in the advertising would surely prove irritating to them. It's the story of a girl's outrage at the defiance of a patriarchal order. Right. So showing little 11-year-old girls dancing in very suggestive ways and then filming them and zooming in on these regions that should not be shown is somehow proving irritating to the right for finding this absolutely disgusting and abhorrent and that it shouldn't exist. I don't know, man. It's questionable. You go to Twitter and you see cancel Netflix. It's everywhere. If there's any cause that I think everyone can get behind, it's the cancel Netflix for this. Regardless of what your political views are, what your religious views are, I think everybody's on board with how this is not acceptable. Anyways, this is going crazy. It's spreading like wildfire, and I think for good reason. We really need to, stuff like this cannot stand, okay? This is not okay. It's disgusting. It's wrong. And I don't care what you're trying to do. What you ended up doing was exploiting children and putting them in a film, and everyone should be ashamed of themselves. I don't know how this is legally allowed on Netflix. I don't know how people are legally allowed to make this movie, and I don't know how there's anyone trying to defend this. It's not able to be defended. It's just wrong across the board, and you're seeing that now. Anyways, we need to keep fighting against this stuff and pushing back against it. Do not normalize this, please, because I know there's an entire movement of people that are trying to normalize this, and it's not okay. Anyways, until next time, God bless.